Welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very exciting episode of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales 101. And today is a very special day for a couple of reasons. Not only do we have some brand new information to dive into relating to the game, but as of today on October 12th, it's now officially exactly 1 month until Miles Morales releases worldwide. And yes, this does include both on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This can also apply to Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered as well, even though that game is only going to be on the PS5 and nothing else. And just knowing how close to launch we now are for both of these games, especially with the recent announcement from Insomniac Games themselves saying that they have fully gone gold with Miles Morales, is just an incredibly exciting feeling all around. And to celebrate October 12th even more, today actually marks the birthday of Miles Morales' creative director, none other than Brian Horton. To quote Brian Horton himself, every single person on this team is a true believer in Miles Morales and the journey he's going on to become a hero. And based on everything that we have seen and heard so far about this game, there is no doubt in my mind that this is shaping up to be a truly special experience. And Brian leading the project as the creative director is one of the main factors as to why that is. So if you're someone who is beyond pumped for this game like me, then be sure to wish Brian a very happy birthday within the comments section down below. But moving on with the news itself, today we actually have a very detailed news report about Miles Morales and his involvement as Spider-Man within the universe of Insomniac's game. And awesomely enough, this isn't just your standard news report that we would receive from a PlayStation blog post, but rather the news itself is in fact being reported within the game's universe. And of course, the source of the news is none other than the Daily Bugle. Now, if you do recall, Spider-Man PS4 also had a lot of awesome promotional material leading up to launch, where in the case of that game, we also got some very awesome newspaper clippings of the Daily Bugle from Spider-Man PS4's in-game universe, as well as some very awesome trailers that were voiced by both Darren DePaul as J. Jonah Jameson and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker, called Just the Facts. And even though we didn't necessarily receive a trailer of sorts just yet, I do think that there is a very high chance that we can expect something like that within the days coming closer to launch. But as of right now, the news report still does dive into some very exciting information with some brand new screenshots of the game that are sure to get you all hyped. And as Insomniac posted on Twitter, the leading publication from Marvel's New York is back with a fresh look and brand new headlines. Daily Bugle now dusts off the question: who is this new Spider-Man? Hashtag Miles Morales PS5, hashtag be greater, hashtag be yourself. And while there are some very exciting screenshots to dive into within this post, I do want to read the entire article first to give you a full perspective as to what exactly is going on within this game's universe. And in classic Daily Bugle fashion, this story was written directly by Robbie Robertson, with photos accompanied by Justin West, where the headline of the article states, "From Spider-Man to Spider-Men, Spidey's got a new partner, but who is he?" For months, New Yorkers who normally never look in any direction except straight ahead have had quite the exciting reason to keep their eyes to the skies. The Spider-Man we've seen for nearly a decade has suddenly multiplied to 2. When Spidey's partner first descended, the new wall crawler's webs were messy, his one-liners were cheesy, and his swinging wasn't that graceful. Since then, he's been training on rooftops and in alleys all across town with his mentor. But a question New Yorkers had given up on years ago has suddenly resurfaced. Who is this new Spider-Man? Is he a radioactive lab-engineered sibling, or perhaps a gymnast with a penchant for justice? He seems younger, and the feverish way he swings from lampposts and fire escapes to help everyday New Yorkers suggest he is very enthusiastic about being a hero, at the very least. The fact remains that New Yorkers eventually accepted the anonymity of our first Spider-Man. I'd be lying if I said I didn't love a mysterious masked vigilante. Does it really matter who wears the suit as long as they're on our side? So just from that small article alone, we do get some very intriguing insights as to how exactly Marvel's New York is perceiving Miles as a second Spider-Man, especially given the fact that Peter Parker as Spider-Man has nearly been around within the city for almost a decade. And seeing how the citizens of New York are going to react to Miles as Spider-Man instead of Peter as Spider-Man is going to be a very exciting experience to witness unfold. But of course, you can't have a Daily Bugle news report without having some even pictures of Spider-Man to attach to it. And lucky enough for us, we do have quite the few amazing screenshots which do showcase both Miles Morales and Peter Parker in action. So first up is a screenshot which appears to be our first look at one of the side missions that you can do within Miles Morales. And given the context of the article describing that Peter Parker was acting as Miles Morales' mentor, teaching him how to become a better version of his own Spider-Man, this certainly looks like another example within that regard. Where, if I were to take a guess, especially considering the fact that the screen that Miles is looking at says combat with a hologram of Peter in the advanced suit, it seems like Peter has left a multitude of training simulations scattered across New York for Miles to practice with. And even though this specific screen is showcasing a combat simulation, I do think that there is a very heavy chance that we could see other training simulations like that of swinging, stealth, and more. As a good comparison, these do seem like the side missions similar to what we experienced within Spider-Man PS4 for both Taskmaster and Screwball. And knowing that Peter is still trying to train Miles even though he has been Spider-Man for over a year now just shows how much he cares about him. And speaking of Peter Parker himself, this next screenshot is pretty self-explanatory with a brand new look of the advanced suit within Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. So even though Insomniac Games changed the overall face design of Peter Parker, it's good to know that the main design of the advanced suit is still alive and well, and in fact does indeed look better than ever. But even with all these new details and glimpses of Peter Parker, we still don't know officially whether or not he will have a full role within Miles Morales' game. Although, given this last screenshot and even a small video clip, I do think that there is a very safe chance that he will be featured in the game as a physical role one way or another, where not only do we get the awesome sight of Peter and Miles swinging side by side with each other, but we also see one of the alternate suits that Miles is wearing within the game of a similar looking design to the quick change into the Spider-Verse suit, where again, this suit is not a one-to-one recreation of the costume from that animated movie, but instead it is Insomniac's own unique interpretation of that design. And just looking at it with a first glance, I do really like the overall aesthetic that it does have, where it is mixing a multitude of various designs. For starters, Miles is wearing the classic Spider-Man suit underneath the red hoodie and blue jacket with the addition of fingerless gloves. But below the waist, we do see him wearing shorts as well as red and black sneakers with the inclusion of bits of his black and red main Spidey costume. And just seeing Miles wear this suit in motion right next to Peter Parker donning the advanced suit is just an amazing sight to see. But above all else, if this small video clip is teasing anything, I sincerely hope it is teasing the possibility of us potentially being able to race Peter Parker as Miles throughout New York City. Because if that actually ends up happening, that is easily going to be one of, if not the best features to be included within the entire game. But as for whether or not that ends up happening, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, even though that's all the primary news that I have for you today, there still is one small factor that I do think you should all keep your eyes peeled on. Now, at the time of this recording, in case you're unaware, tomorrow afternoon on October 13th, Game Informer magazine is planning to reveal their 330th Game Informer issue. And of course, this also relates to revealing the upcoming cover story which is going to be highlighted in that issue. And in classic Spider-Man fashion, Game Informer did have an entire cover story of Spider-Man PS4 back in April of 2018, where during that time we did receive loads of awesome insight about the game leading up to launch and even awesome developer interviews talking about multiple aspects about the game. And even though we don't know exactly what the upcoming issue is going to be, we did have a very intriguing Twitter post from the editor-in-chief over at Game Informer of Andrew Reiner, where he did state online a few days ago, next month's cover art is ridiculously cool. I can't wait to share it next week, which again is tomorrow on October 13th. And given the fact that there still are aspects of Miles Morales that we haven't seen in action yet, like that of the overall web swinging as well as the different suits that Miles can wear, I do think that there is a very highly likely possibility that tomorrow's Game Informer reveal could potentially be for Miles Morales. And knowing how awesome the hype buildup would be for the game building up to launch with some brand new information from Game Informer would just be the cherry on top of all this amazing coverage. But until that time comes, everyone, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about the updated Daily Bugle reports for Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, and which bit of news got you the most excited? For me personally, I'm really curious to learn more about the hologram simulations that Peter Parker is setting up for Miles within Marvel's New York. And I swear to you guys right now, if we do end up actually receiving a challenge where we can race Peter Parker throughout New York City, I am absolutely going going to flip out. But in the meantime, I'll just make sure to keep my fingers crossed. And until next time, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. And without further ado, peace out.
Every single person on this team is a true believer in Miles Morales and the journey he's going on to become a hero. It goes with our studio vision to make a positive and lasting impact in people's lives, and we believe this game has the opportunity to do that.